Let me start off by saying that if you're the kind of person who gets really sensitive when their favorite white characters are critiqued, this video isn't for you. If you're not willing to accept the idea that there can be a racial bias with the way you view a black character versus a white character, this video isn't for you. And I don't care if you are black. When I do these kind of videos, there is a purpose, and if you don't agree with that purpose, simply don't watch. Also, I'm going to throw it out there that Paige is one of my favorite characters from the earlier seasons of Degrassi and Next Generation. I love her. However, I love Marisol more, and that's the reason I'm doing this. The title of this video is Discussing and Critiquing the Double Standards Between Marisol and Paige, and that's what I'm about to do. Buckle up, it's about to be a wild ride. On a surface level, what these girls have in common is that they were both the most popular girls during their time at Degrassi. Both were cheer captains, were romantically involved with somebody in a band, and also occasionally mean. Marisol is, however, the more hated of the two. I often hear the take, Marisol's Paige if she never got better. I've seen this take multiple times, but how true is it? Not true at all, and here's why. For starters, and I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning of the video, Paige Michalchuk is a character that I adore. Her style was iconic, her lines were memorable, her sexual assault arc was among the best written in the show. But was her character development in comparison to Marisol Lewis really something to write home about? From a friendship standpoint, Paige and Marisol start off similarly in that they're willing to backstab their friends for a boy. Paige getting Terry drunk so she can have Spinner to herself, and Marisol outing Katie's bulimia for Drew. In addition, Paige was very fake with Ashley. She repeatedly preyed on Ashley's insecurities, such as her relationship with Jimmy, for shits and giggles, and was somehow still shocked when Ashley called her a hag while high. In addition, Paige also threw Hazel under the bus so her and Manny wouldn't get in trouble for ripping Emma's anti-Spirit Squad articles from the school newspapers. None of this ever got addressed, and all of these girls remained friends with Paige for some reason. If I was Terry alone, I personally wouldn't want to stay friends with a person who doesn't think I deserve any attention from cute boys or a modeling contract on the basis of my weight. In Ashley's case, she was ultimately the one who ended up as the bad guy in her class over one bad moment, but yet Paige got to ride off into the sunset scot-free despite her reign of terror all throughout season 1. With Marisol, she got called out for what she did to Katie and nearly lost their friendship forever because of it. Unlike Paige, Marisol was immediately remorseful of what she did and took accountability.
If you hate me, I understand, but please find someone to talk to.
I didn't throw up. I wanted to, but I didn't.
I'm glad. Is there any way, I know this sounds crazy, but I want my best friend back.
What about Drew?
I'll find a way to deal. Maybe he can hook me up with a cute friend.
Like Casey? I want my best friend back, too.
She was by Katie's side through thick and thin, whether it was supporting Katie through her struggles with Drew and Bianca, her ankle injury, her drug addiction, and the Vegas incident, and even held a candlelight vigil for the dead boyfriend of Katie's little sister, Maya. She didn't even want to spread around that Katie was in rehab until Mo got it out of her. Marisol's one bad incident of being horrible to Katie got addressed in her first season of being a main character, and it contrasted Paige's debut season.
You okay?
I need to tell you something. I went to Darren's room last night.
Oh my god, that is so dangerous.
Did you? He left me alone at one point to get me a drink. And I saw my reflection in the glass, and I don't know, it just didn't look like me. It looked like some desperate girl. I couldn't think any further, so I grabbed my bag and I ran.
Phew, girl, you had me so worried.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad I got out. Hey, thanks for the keychain.
It wasn't me.
I lost a really great guy, huh?
Kitty, you're never gonna be alone, okay? You're always gonna have me.
Thanks.
As for how their characters progress, we do see an improvement with Paige's treatment towards her friends until Degrassi Goes Hollywood, where she magically resets to season 1 Paige. She doesn't give a shit about anyone but herself and ends up isolated because of it. Margot didn't speak to Paige again until sometime before next class, and who knows if Paige is still talking to Ellie, Hazel, and Ashley. Meanwhile, Marisol ended her time on the show very close to Katie, and it's obvious they tend to keep their bond after high school. In addition, Marisol befriended both Fiona and Jake, and while it took a bit for her and Fiona to move past their conflict, her and Jake remained amicable from beginning to end. Marisol ended her time on the show very much loved despite her initial callousness towards Katie. Hell, if you get Eli Goldsworthy to participate and sing for you, even though he probably couldn't stand you, you're that girl. Storylines are modeled as Paige had multiple well-developed ones, while Marisol only had 2 where she had the main point of view. However, that's on the writer's fault for not writing black girls well, and even then we still see a change in Marisol's behavior from when she first debuted. Most of it is just unfortunately off-screen. On Paige's end though, after she graduates, the best plot she got was her having a meltdown at Banting. Other than that, what's memorable? The HIV storyline with Griffin that went nowhere, the very chaotic relationship with Alex, the flop roommate storylines of Ellie and Marco. What is the point of having several plots if most of them are not good, if they're not well written? How can we say that Paige is better written than Marisol when we never even got a storyline where Paige properly came to terms with being bisexual after dating Alex? And that's another topic, how they treat their partners. In the one real relationship Marisol had with Mo, she gets demonized as still being shallow and self-centered with him because of her prior fatphobia and a diabetes plot, which is disturbingly misinterpreted by the fans. I have waxed on and on in the past as to why Marisol's paranoia for thinking that Mo did drugs is valid when Katie was literally on drugs a few months ago before this. Katie's drug addiction progressed terribly to the point where she not only overdosed but ended up in rehab. With the pain Marisol felt from seeing her best friend in a situation like that, it's understandable that she would be paranoid about someone else she loved doing the same thing, even if she went about it the wrong way, especially with the fact that needles are often associated with heroin in real life anyway.
In his defense, Mo isn't the type to do drugs.
Neither were you.
Okay, point taken.
And even then, even if she went about it improperly, she still had every right to later be upset that Mo didn't tell her that he was diabetic. Diabetes is a serious medical condition, and by Mo choosing to tell only Jake and not his girlfriend, Marisol wasn't properly educated on the type he had and wouldn't know how to help him if he had a medical crisis. If he collapsed from a low blood sugar level and fell into a coma, Marisol wouldn't have been able to do anything but call 911, and by then it could have been too late. He could have died. Mo was literally putting his life at risk by not telling Marisol that he was diabetic, because even though he felt comfortable enough to tell Jake, Jake was not going to be around him 24/7. He should have told Marisol, at least when she first started making plans about their spring break trip, that he was diabetic for his own health and safety so she could educate herself and accommodate him.
That's a serious health condition. Don't you trust me at all?
Of course I trust you. I didn't think it was that important.
What if you had passed out? Or gone into a diabetic coma?
You could have called 911.
And what if they hadn't come fast enough? You could have died.
It wasn't about her making him feel bad about his condition like people keep trying to argue. Outside of one misunderstanding that was born out of love for him anyway, Marisol was so supportive of Mo. When she found out that he was diabetic, she got him ankle bracelets.
One condition.
Medical bracelet?
2. One for every outfit.
So I'll be safe and stylish.
People need to know how to help you, especially me. Sorry I overreacted, but the thought of something bad happening to you makes me ill.
When he was sorrowful over him and Jake possibly not speaking again after graduation, she paid Jake to come to prom and spent her last moments at graduation getting him to talk, even though Mo ruined her prom night.
So, am I forgiven?
Not until you tell Jake how you really feel, and that you still want to be friends now that we're graduates.
Talk to him.
It's your last chance.
Marisol supported recorded whisper hug, and they were generally a sweet, wholesome couple. You could see it on Marisol's face how much she appreciated and cared for Mo. Paige, on the other hand, while her and Spinner were very wholesome as well until season 4, where she crashed his car into Dean's and he started showing his ass with Manny, her and Alex started being toxic as soon as they got together. I love Palex, but outside of Lexicon and Love and Our Lips Are Sealed, they never got past their initial stage of not respecting each other, especially Paige. For all that people come at Marisol for allegedly not losing her shallowness with Mo, Paige continually looked down at Alex. She judged her for not knowing yet what she wanted to do for life after high school and later got mad at her for choosing to become a stripper when she seemingly had no options left. Paige didn't care to look at any of Alex's actions with nuance when Alex grew up in a poor, abusive environment in contrast to her more privileged lifestyle. When Marisol realized how her bias towards Mo was rude and unhealthy and bigoted beauty standards, she acknowledged it and loved him for him. Mo was at times immature and petty, and he hurt her on 3 instances, but despite that, Marisol loved him unconditionally and was mature enough to apologize and acknowledge it when she herself was wrong. Unlike Palex, they proved themselves to be a compatible and healthy couple simply because they were mature enough to talk through their problems. Paige didn't have that level of maturity of Alex, and it ultimately split them apart for good. There wasn't unconditional love or even a reasonable kind of conditional love. Paige just simply never grew out of that shallow girl that looked down at people for being different from her, even when it's her own girlfriend. Now, when we talk about each girl's mean girl moments, there seems to be a deliberate lack of acknowledgement from the fandom on Paige's mean girls moments. I've seen it take way too many times that Paige was the nicest queen bee, and I don't agree. Marisol's fight with Katie and her bullying Imogen on screen a few times is seen as arguments as to how irredeemable she is, but here's all of Paige's nastiest moments, other than the ones in season 1 I already mentioned. Finding Liberty humiliating herself on camera to be funny and even congratulating Ashley on a job well done. Telling Ashley that Manny was pregnant despite promising Manny that she wouldn't tell. Everyone hates Ashley for outing Manny's pregnancy, and I can understand to an extent because I think it's her worst moment, but she wouldn't have been able to do that if Paige kept her mouth shut. Telling Ashley it was her fault Craig cheated. Not giving Manny credit for anything she did on Spirit Squad and choosing to humiliate her by making her wear the mascot costume. Stripping Manny almost naked in front of the whole dance. Manny wasn't an innocent angel herself during this conflict, but Paige's actions were worse since she was captain and was hostile from Manny from nearly the very beginning. And honestly, Paige overall constantly abused her power as cheer captain. Kicking Manny off Spirit Squad for the Peter incident when Manny was a victim of not only revenge porn but child porn distribution. Slapping Marco clean in his face when he called her out on how bratty she was acting in Degrassi Goes Hollywood. Boasting about how she made girls cry to Holly Jane and Queen Bee's Minnie. Considering that Paige is a freshman in university at that point, if she supposedly has this amazing development, that wouldn't be something that she's proud of. If Marisol's irredeemable for her few acts of being cruel towards others, how are we giving Paige grace when she never really outgrew that behavior herself? Marisol never came after Imogen again after Imogen hit her with a textbook, and she made amends with both Drew and Bianca. She literally helped them get back together in Las Vegas, even though she didn't like how they did Katie. Despite all the drama with Casey last year, her and Jenna were on student council in season 12 with no issues. While Paige Loki was an irresponsible cheer captain, Marisol, on the other hand, while not getting much to do as captain, which is the show's fault than hers, she was nice enough to give Tori multiple chances on the squad despite Tori blowing 2 of them. If Paige or Darcy was still captain, they would have never given Tori a third chance to be on the team after she skips practice for her idiot boyfriend, but because said idiot boyfriend volunteered to be mascot, Marisol gave Tori a third chance. She made amends with Fiona, acknowledged her talent, and respected her work as vice president. They worked well together. As student council president, Marisol is very active and not only organized a vigil for Cam when he committed suicide, but was on her Twitter offering resources for students who needed help after that situation. Marisol Lewis wasn't a completely innocent angel, and I acknowledge that. But at least she wasn't a mean girl to her own boyfriend, cut the mean girl behavior with Katie quick, and spent her last story on the show being kind. The same Paige who's got Terry drunk in season 1 is the same Paige who slaps the shit out of Marco in season 8. Is Paige's character development something to really hold against Marisol's seemingly non-existent one when it has its own flaws? I love both of these girls dearly, but despite the lack of on-screen attention, the little development Marisol was allowed to have was on the upswing, while Paige's character regressed until she hit rock bottom with Degrassi Goes Hollywood. Writing off Marisol as this irredeemable scumbag monster with static character development while holding Paige on some kind of pedestal is rooted in misogynoir. It's a bias towards a black female character because she was a victim of poor writing by the show, and because of the attitude that it's okay to be a bitch with no repercussions when you're white. Everyone hates a sassy black girl in fiction and real life, but gets their lives watching a white girl be a bitch as long as she's quote-unquote iconic. P.S. When we see a different, more softer and vulnerable side to Marisol's character from 11 Beyond, it's without unnecessary trauma. Meanwhile, Paige is the first of many evil white girl Degrassi characters who literally had to get brutalized by a male for us to see a deeper side of her. Is that something we wanted to see out of Marisol as well, considering the already harmful trope in media where a black or brown character, especially a black or brown female character, is excessively brutalized for the taste of a white audience who thrives off black torture porn? That's the end of my little rant. When I do these kind of videos, all I ask for you, before you get mad at me and try to invalidate my point of view as a black woman, like some of the previous comments I've gotten on my videos, is to actually think. No one wants to believe that they are racist or hold internally racist bias towards characters, but if you think that Marisol's a vile demon while Paige is some iconic innocent queen with excellent growth and only did a few bad things, you might want to think about why that is. Like, subscribe, and make sure to follow my Twitter account, Marisol's Eli, and my Marisol Out of Context account. Stay tuned for when I inevitably compare Marisol to Holly J next. Bye!